Hi, everyone. Welcome to this DevX webinar on proactive recruiting, how you can manage candidate pipelines for future staffing needs. I'm Corinne Gray, and I'm Communications Manager at DevX, and I'll be your moderator today. So it's really great to, just have recruiters with us today. I know sometimes as a recruiter, you may find yourself in a position where sometimes an RFP is released, you have 3 weeks to find key personnel, or a disaster may strike and you need to mobilize experts on the ground in a couple of days. And as a successful international development recruiter, you really have to be one step ahead of the game, and building pipelines of go-to experts and maintaining relationships with these professionals is really crucial to quickly mobilizing them when the need arises. So today our Director of Global Recruitment, Kate Warren, will discuss some strategies and tips for identifying your future hiring needs, building up a pipeline of candidates, and nurturing candidate relationships so your contacts are ready to serve when you need them. We really want this to be an open dialogue, so feel free to ask questions throughout the webinar, share your own tips or your success story. Kate will do a brief presentation. After that, there will be time for a Q&A, and you can ask questions using the chat or the Q&A box in your WebEx webinar screen. So before we start, I just wanted to tell you a bit about Kate. She's Global Recruitment Services here at DevX. She works with human resources departments of major donor agencies like the World Bank, United Nations, NGOs, consulting firms that make development happen. And before coming to DevX, Kate was a recruitment officer for International Relief and Development, which is an NGO that 40 countries, and she's also a team manager and international recruiter for Chechi and Company. Kate previously recruited interpreters in more than 300 languages for U.S. immigration courts and international conferences. So please join me in welcoming Kate to this webinar. But just let's go through a few of our housekeeping rules on how we use this webinar software if this is your first time. So like I said, you can enter questions using the questions chat box in the WebEx window, and you can submit them at any time. I will take all of your questions, and I will then submit them to Kate, and she will answer those during the question and answer section of the event. You can also live tweet during this event if you want to interact with each other or your followers and share any interesting tidbits or facts that you might hear. We'll be using the hashtag #DevWebinar. So feel free to go ahead, send a tweet, let your followers know that you are on this webinar. So Kate, once again, thanks for being with us, and I'll pass over to you.
Great. Thank you, Corinne, and thank you, everyone, for joining us today. So a lot of familiar names on the list, so I'm happy you're able to join in on the conversation. So I know I'm speaking to a very informed group of seasoned recruiters today, so really the content is meant to serve as an opportunity to step back, examine your overall recruitment strategy, and just remind yourself of the importance of proactive recruitment. It's easy to kind of forget when you're bogged down in the day-to-day hectic nature of working in international development recruitment. So I hope you can take away a few tips, and also in the presentation, as Corinne mentioned, I invite you to share your own tips, experiences, or questions that we can discuss. So quickly, just the agenda for today. We will first talk about, identifying those future staffing needs. So before you can build up those pipelines, you need to know where your needs are and how to identify those. And then actually building that candidate pipeline, so some tips and strategies on how to go about doing that. And then finally, nurturing those candidate relationships, so making sure that you have them warm and ready to go when you need them, and some tips and strategies on how to better facilitate that.